Thanks for watching episode 3 of Chasing Frames with Tamara Lackey. We watched her experience firsthand what a water rescue team does in flood and hurricane situations. This really reminded me just how powerful nature is and why these brave men and women are so important. Saving the lives of people and pets is just one of the many responsibilities that these workers deal with. So I'm grateful to know that they're out there in these types of situations. Tamara took a ton of great photos on the river that day, so let's head into On One Photo Raw 2020 and let's see some of those frames. After watching episode 3 and seeing how action-packed it was, I knew that Tamara was going to have a lot of awesome frames to edit. So we're inside Photo Raw 2020, and let's scroll down here and take a look at some of these shots. I really love these photos in here where they're practicing the water rescue. They do a great job of showing us how difficult it would be to rescue a person from a moving body of water like that. So let's go in and edit one of these shots. I'm going to grab these 3 photos here, and I'm actually going to compare so that I can pick my favorite. So now that I have these 3 selected, I'm going to head down to compare view mode here. And I'm going to head over and make sure I have lock, pan, and zoom selected. And then I can head up and I can zoom in, and I can pan around to compare these different photos. And after looking at these 3 shots, I really like how this photo, it looks like they're actually rescuing him. You can see that there's water covering him, but they're reaching in and there's a splash everywhere. It looks a little more chaotic and represents the danger in this line of work. So let's go in here and let's actually edit this shot here. So I'm going to click this photo, and to remove it, I can just hit the slash key on my keyboard. So now we've picked our favorite. So now I'll just hit D on my keyboard and I can head into the edit module. So to begin editing this photo, I really want to bring the viewer's attention into this area of the scene. If we bring them closer in, they can get a better idea of what they're actually doing in this photograph. So let's crop this image a little bit. I'm just going to hit C on my keyboard to grab my crop tool. And I think I'm actually going to leave it at a 2x3. And then I'll just head down to this corner right here, and I can pull in on it, and I can tighten this crop up. Probably about right there. So now let's hit enter. So now that we've cropped this photo, let's head over to our Develop tab and we can modify our tone and color. After taking a look at this shot, there's a lot of bright areas in this water splashing over here. But our subjects are really dark. So what we need to do is we need to tone down the bright areas in this photo and bring out the shadowy tones. So I'm going to hold down J on my keyboard, and that's going to show me my clipping warnings. So I can see in here with this red overlay, that's showing me my true white without any detail. So these are basically blown out areas in this photo. So let's head down to our exposure slider here, and I'll just pull back on it to dim the photo down and remove all of the overexposed areas. And we could probably pull it up maybe just a little bit more, right about there. So now let's pull out all of these other tones in this photo also. The first thing I'm going to do is head down to my mid-tone slider, and I'll just pull up on that a little bit as well. See how that just brings out the middle tonalities in this image? The light grays in here and in the water. And now we can head down to our shadow slider, and we can pull up on the shadow tones. And that's going to bring out these darker areas in this photograph. But whenever we're pulling up on our midtones or our shadows, we're going to be losing contrast in the photograph. So now that we've pulled up on our shadows quite a bit, let's head back up and we'll bring back that contrast with our contrast slider. Maybe about right there. So now let's head down and let's make sure we have our color temperature correct. I'm just going to grab this color dropper tool right here, and I'll drop it on an area of white. And you can see it warm the photo up a bit. So now that we've modified the tone and set the color, let's go in and let's bring some detail into the shot using dynamic contrast. So I'm going to head into effects, I'll add a filter, and I'm going to add dynamic contrast. And if I turn this dynamic contrast filter off and on, it does a great job of applying detail to the photo, but it applies detail everywhere on the shot. And that could be distracting with all of the sharpness in this water. So let's just apply it strictly to the subjects in here. So we're going to head over to our dynamic contrast filter, and we're going to go into our masking options to do that. And in masking, white reveals and black conceals. So with my mask view here, with it being all white, that's telling me it's revealing this entire filter onto everywhere on the shot. So let's go in and let's invert this. So now it's black and it's concealing the entire filter. So now I'm going to hit B on my keyboard to grab my masking brush. And I'm going to head up and make sure that I'm set to paint in. And I'll just make my brush size a little bit bigger. And now I'm going to brush this dynamic contrast filter onto the subjects in here. So now if I look at my mask, you can see that there's a lot of white there where I painted this filter onto. So let's go into this dynamic contrast filter, and I'm actually going to pull up on the small a little bit to add some more small detail. And then I'm going to pull up on my shadow tones, the whites a little, and I'll add in just a hair of true black. So now if we turn this dynamic contrast filter off and on, it really livens up this area where our subjects are at. So now let's go back into this dynamic contrast filter, and I'm actually going to copy this mask. And the reason I'm copying this mask is so that we can use this with another filter. So I'm going to add another filter, and I'm actually going to add the glow filter. And I'm going to choose darker. So the reason I'm choosing this dark and glow filter is I don't want it applied to the entire image, I just want it applied to the areas around our subjects. So now that I've copied this mask, let's go into our glow filters masking options, and I'll just head down to paste. And we don't want it applied in the middle area where our subjects are, we want it applied around them. So let's just go up and we'll select invert. So if I turn this glow filter off and on, I really like what it does with toning down the water. So now let's hit the backslash key on our keyboard. I like how the subjects pop out more from the frame than they did before. It gives us a better idea of what it's like to be a part of a water rescue team. Thanks for watching the third episode of Chasing Frames and following along inside On One Photo Raw 2020.